It's time to sit back, relax, and listen to Conversations with Joan. Conversations with Joan will inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. And now, here's your host, Joan Herman.
Welcome to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life's Conversations with Joan. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in. Conversations with Joan focuses on topics that are important to your life, from health and wellness to professional development to personal well-being. Change makers join me to share their insights, tips, and strategies so you can thrive and live your best life now. Thank you for taking time for yourself, and thank you for letting us be a part of your life. Now, let's start talking. Many people grow up enamored with celebrities, wondering what it's really like behind the velvet ropes, beyond the flashing cameras, and inside the world of fame. Today's guest, Nikki Nash, didn't just wonder, she made it her mission to find out. From a young age, Nikki was captivated by the stars of Hollywood and set her sights on joining their world. She carved out a career in the entertainment industry and found herself living the dream so many imagine. Now she writes about what it's truly like to be on the inside. Nikki began working in TV as a gofer and was an associate director on a variety of shows. She's the author of the book, Collateral, Stardust, Chasing Warren Beatty, and Other Foolish Things. Welcome, Nikki. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here, Joan. Thank you.
So, Nikki, let's start at the beginning. How did your fascination with Hollywood and celebrities first begin?
It's strange. I don't know that it was a fascination as much as a lot just normal in our childhood. My dad, as a musician, had a lot of musicians and political people and actors, and we lived not too far from Hollywood, so it was pretty common. And I wasn't really starstruck or fascinated or thinking it was another world until I saw that movie with Warren Beatty.
Uh-huh.
And that's when I decided, I was kind of depressed and at home and feeling lonely, and on came Splendor in the Grass, and I just thought, that's who I need in my life. That's going to make everything worthwhile and give me a goal and give me a reason to live.
Uh-huh.
So
Well, I understand that. I'm laughing because I had a similar thing with Paul McCartney when I was younger. I decided that, I was going to be his wife and that I would know him. So let's talk a little bit about this childhood crush that you had on Warren Beatty. How did that develop, and were you ever able to meet him, or did your paths cross?
Well, I love Paul McCartney, and that was your crush. And, it's not too late. He's still with us. You might marry him. But for me, I had a crush on him, but I also was smart enough to know if this was a true pursuit of mine, and I would have to figure out a way to make it happen. And I was way too young, so I actually had a run-in with him when I was 16. My parents went to a party at, we call him Bob Altman, which sounds so inside, but Robert Altman had a premiere, and so we went, and the movie was McCabe and Mrs. Miller, and lo and behold, there's Warren Beatty. And he showed up in the kitchen, and I was alone with him, and I knew I was still too young. I just kind of ignored him and went about my business. And then when I was finally 18, I knew it was time. Someone said he worked at a restaurant in Beverly Hills, or he came into a restaurant, excuse me, he came into a restaurant in Beverly Hills, and so I got a job there. I thought, this is smart, and I worked there for a year and a half, and he never came in, so It seemed sort of pointless.
So at what point did your dream shift from fan to professional? When did you say, I'm going to work in Hollywood?
After I did meet Warren, and we became friendly, I needed a job after the old world. I figured, well, this, I met my goal of working here. I'm not going to be a hostess for the rest of my life, I don't think. I mean, who knows? So I needed a job, and I got a job on Mary Hartman as a gopher. And I just learned so much there, so much, and people that sometimes start out as gophers or runners or lower rung on any kind of show or a business, you often think, I'm meant for better things, and people better recognize it. And the truth is, I always want to tell people, interns that work with us, if you're good here, we notice. There's no shame in doing the best job you can on a low rung. It's really it's really important. I mean, even personally, to just do the best job you can wherever you are. So I started working Mary Hartman, and from there, I just worked hard, stayed late, and ended up working on other shows and getting in the Directors Guild. And it was great. And it's a career I'm so grateful I was able to have.
Is that path of entry still viable today? Can someone begin as a gopher and work their way up to director?
You know, it's a tough time now, and so many of my friends are struggling. And as you probably know, in Hollywood and, you know, on the planet, things are shifting with need for actual creative input versus electronic. And I think it's less so now. Also, with just, you know, all the online streaming, there's so many other opportunities people take or enjoy, or, you know, anything that they do online. So it's tough because on one hand, there's so many people that are probably talented or good or willing, and there's so many places to do it that it's not that focused anymore. And it's not like, you know, a handful of people know this kind of work and get work, and then you bring other people in. So it seems like a changed time, and maybe every generation feels that, but I'm glad to have been sort of in the heyday of TV, because there was just so much TV.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, when we look at Hollywood or television, we only see the red carpet, the headlines. But what is it really like to be on the inside?
Well, you know, my most recent job was with Conan O'Brien for 12 years, and it's fantastic. It's like a family. A lot of us that were freelance and went from specials or talk shows or late night, you know, you'd run into the same audio people, the same gaffers, the same cameramen. You'd work with different directors, the same directors. So it was very much a family, and we had, you know, running jokes over the headset when times were slow or stressful. You know, everyone worked really hard, and especially on Conan, the rehearsal days were just more fun than anything, because he was brilliant, and he played with everyone, and it was just a lot of laughter and a hard work. And so it's probably like any kind of family business. There are familiars, there are people that you love and see. They're long hours. So I mean, I didn't spend a lot of time on the red carpet. I was behind the scenes, more like crew.
When you look back at your career now, what were some of the most rewarding or even the most challenging moments that you can recall?
I think working on the Oscars was always hard, because, I mean, this sounds like, you know, walking 5 miles in the snow. But back then, it's kind of hard to believe, you know, the first or second Oscars shows what I worked on was the 80s. And there were no cell phones. There were no computers. There was, you know, you had a Selectric typewriter and a print, and not even a Xerox machine, basically. And the script is 400 pages. So me and my team, we would just work all night long, getting all the seat numbers, getting anytime, you know, a word changed, you had to type a new page, put it through the system. If someone changed wardrobe, you had to call 40 people, because it affected, you know, their mic color, the set color. And so there was absolutely no emailing someone with information. It was all phone calling, delivering runners to people's places all over town. It was, I can't believe that we did that, because there's so many parts of it now that are just automated and so easy and so quick. Mm-hmm. So that was a challenge. And then the only time I had a real challenging time with someone was, and it wasn't even difficult, but I worked on the Dennis Miller show, his later show, when he was more about kind of political rants and stuff. And he didn't like people looking at him or talking to him or anything, but he did like to complain. And for about a week or two, he just kept saying, "Why is he swearing? Why is it so cold in here? Why isn't anyone doing anything?" And, you know, I was brought up to solve a problem. If someone needs something, you fix it, especially at work. So I'm looking around, no one's calling maintenance, no one's going out there, no one's doing anything. And I don't know, some little snarky side of me kicks in. And he was ranting one more time. No one was responding. So I had a big coat on the back of my chair. I pulled it off. I opened the door to the stage. I walked out there. I wrapped it around his shoulders, patted him, and left. And everyone was stunned into silence. They're like, "What did you do?" And Dennis is like, "Who was that? Was that Mrs. Sonny Barger, who's a Hell's Angel leader back in the 80s?" Because I have tattoos on my forearms, and he just thought, "Who is this strange person?" So from then on, if anything went wrong, he goes, "Just don't send Mrs. Sonny Barger out here." I don't even know if he knew where I worked, but it became a running joke, and everyone couldn't believe I did that.
Well, Nikki, before you were talking about technology and how it's impacting the industry. And so when you look at television or film or broadcast radio, we live by a time clock. How do you think the digital production of whether it be television today or radio, podcasting, how do you think that's going to impact the industry when everything's kind of loosey-goosey, where everyone's a host and everyone's putting these products out? What do you think that's going to do to the industry?
Yeah, we all speculate, and I'm sure you do too. I mean, you have a great podcast, a great website, and you've been doing this for years, and are great at what you do. And then it just seems like, well, anybody can have a podcast or anybody can have a radio show. And I guess that's true. And I am not here to even say what people like or don't like, but it's easy to speculate that, that we have shorter attention spans, or, you think back to the old Twilight Zone, and it was like a half hour, and maybe, something now that would be produced in about 30 seconds, and I really liked moments of space to experience, and it seems much faster now. So I don't know, because with TikTok or YouTube channels, people get to express themselves, and maybe that's fantastic. But I also worry truly about the concept of influencers and followers, just as an idea, because I think we're all kind of human and going through this life process, and it's a strange category to try to collect people. And then belief, it's just tough. Women have an interesting time, especially with technology and filters and things like that. And it's got to set up such expectation and disappointment all in the same flash of a second. So right. I'm not big on it myself, but I am older, so it wasn't like I grew up with a cell phone. But I also am a very sensual person, so I like being outside, the wind, smells. I'm not really wired to get that much enjoyment from something, a small electronic screen, but that's just me.
I agree, because when I look at it, sometimes I feel like a dinosaur, because I've been doing this for a long time. And when I started, it was totally different. There were very few people doing the work that I'm doing and doing it in the way that I'm doing it. And things have changed. And, sometimes I look at it with that older person's eyes and I think, oh my gosh, why are they doing that? And I feel crazy to have those thoughts. But we are definitely living in an interesting time.
Yeah, I agree. And like with your work, you develop something to help people, and it needs, space. It's almost like therapy. You can't just have a 30-second therapy thing and be fine. Maybe some people can, but there are things to ruminate, things to let sink in, spaces between people, sounds of a voice. And I think those things are healing. And maybe we are dinosaurs, but, I accept that I'm grateful for the time I lived in. I'm glad I'm not a young woman now, although maybe things will shift. I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting to not be that, well, when I was your age, and just kind of accept everything that's happening. And even in a broader scale, you just worry with AI and automated jobs. How's that going to sort out? Will there be other jobs for people? Have we come to the end of that kind of production, and we'll just become more automated and sell electronic images of ourselves? I don't know. I don't know, Joan.
Well, Nikki, what inspired you to start writing about your experiences? Was it therapeutic, revealing, both?
Sometimes I think we kind of unknowingly pick vehicles or for healing, and I don't know always where they come from or what, but I knew, the ego, fame, desiring part of me knew I had all these great stories. And, I would tell dumb stories to people, fame type stories and Warren and skydiving and things. And people would go, oh, you should write a book. And back then I thought, yes, I should write a book and people will think I'm fabulous. But I was at that point just becoming more human, I suppose, like on the planet. And I thought, I cannot write this book until I have the right tone, until I know why I'm writing it. I can't just say, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then I kissed this person, and aren't I interesting? It's like, what a snooze. And having done stand-up, I knew that a lot of humor is, of course, based on underlying pain. So I had to, if I was going to offer anyone these stories, it had to be with the realistic underpinnings of what hurt, where I came from, why I chose, and also the Colette quote, you will do foolish things, but do them with enthusiasm. That hit me so hard because I realized I've spent my life trying not to look foolish, and I've done nothing but foolish things. So it was sort of integrating those two parts of myself and absolutely claiming that I'm foolish. I get easily delighted. I say yes to anything. And I don't have to have a persona that projects something other than who I am. So with that tone in mind, I was able to start writing the book. And then it was easier because the point of view was very clear. I'm here to share who I am in a humorous way. I'm not here to present myself for any reason other than what comforted me to write it. And now people that have read it just are touched by it. So, it helped me a lot to write it. And at the end of it, it's hard for me to be false with anyone. It's hard to try to project any kind of snazziness when, you've done so many silly things. So I'm fine. I feel just great about, I love being this age more than any time in my life. So that's what happened.
Mm-hmm. Would you share one of your favorite stories with us?
One silly story that just popped into my mind, so I guess that's the one. I needed some money for something, physical therapy, and so I was going to sell one of my grandma's rings. And I looked up on Craigslist, and I'm pretty smart. I mean, you don't meet someone in an alley with cash. And so someone was interested. I had the paperwork. It had, been all certified. And I had some emails back and forth with this guy. He wanted to get engaged to his girlfriend. Well, the side of me that was always, always boy crazy, of course, speculated that he will meet me, break up with his girlfriend, give me the ring, and we'll get married, and what a great story that will be. Now, of course, I would never say that to anyone except for you just now, but he said, meet me at the Ben Bridges in Torrance. And I said, oh, see, he's smart. He knows to meet at a jewelry store and all this. He said, I'll be wearing a members only jacket, a red one. And, I'm going, well, I'm not wild about members only, but I'll overlook that for him because, of course, he's going to be my true love. So I go there and, I'm just selling a ring that I, of course, put on a dress and lipstick. And he's supposed to be getting engaged. What am I doing? So I walk in. And there he is, red jacket, and I'm kind of hard of flubber. I wonder if he's handsome, and he turns around, he's handsome, he seems nice, and I mean, based on what? I don't know. And so he says, do you have the ring? And I'm like, yeah, it's in my purse, that's why we're here. And he said, let me see it. So he takes the ring, he looks at it, he grabs me by the arm, he pulls me out of the thing, the store, the woman who's behind the little foyer there, I'm yelling, help. I don't want to yell too loud because that's rude, but he drags me out, and then like 3 SWAT guys come and grab me and take me by the back of my arm, and I'm going, what is happening? Stop, what is happening? And then they explained to me finally that they thought it was a fenced ring. Someone had their ring stolen, and this looked like it. Oh. And I had to verify it. And so after a half hour of standing there, not in cuffs, but with these scary men, and her car is clear, blah blah blah. I was disappointed because 1, I wasn't selling the ring, and 2, we weren't falling madly in love. What is this with the SWAT team? So the tag of that story is about 2 months later, I was selling a lamp on Craigslist, And I emailed the same guy, this cop, with the red jacket. I said, so Dan, I'm selling this lamp on Craigslist. If you could maybe not send the SWAT team. And he totally laughed. He's married, got kids. So just, things like that are just a foolish thing, but fun to look back on.
What advice, Nikki, would you give to someone who dreams of working in Hollywood today?
That's so hard. Because even, all my friends now are struggling. I guess it depends on in what capacity. If it's creative, then, keep writing or keep, directing or cell phone movies or, and see what it is that is inside you that needs to come out. I think what does, if the word is succeed, is some kind of expression of yourself, some authenticity. And, I was reading Rick Rubin's book, The Creative Act, and he just, and he so clearly said, you are the prism through which your experiences, he didn't say this, but I'm making it up, the prism through which your experiences externally and internally get manifested in some creative way, which means you're of the moment. You are who you are. You can't be someone else and try to create that. And I think, a lot of kind of blockbuster movies are going for a common denominator rather than a deeper creative sense of the person and the moment. But I don't know, is there room for that now? Maybe it's in a smaller scale that I'm unaware of or online. But I guess the only advice I would give would, even if it's possible to afford it, to intern someplace and work hard and do your best and show up. I was brought up by my father, you just keep your commitments, and no matter what. And I think in 45 years of working in TV, I went home sick one day, because it just wasn't done. And I think opportunities are going to open up that maybe you and I are not aware of, coming from, not that we're in our 20s anymore. So maybe there's new advice for people that are better equipped to give it than I am. But I wish everybody luck, because it's an odd time.
The book is Collateral, Stardust, Chasing Warren Beatty and Other Foolish Things. Nikki, where can our listeners go to learn more about you and your work?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that, Joan. Well, my website's nickinash.com, NIKKI, nickinash.com, and there are chapters of the book that can be read, and bios and stuff like that. So it's there, nickinash.com.
Nikki, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Joan, for having me, and good luck with everything with you, too.
Thank you for joining us. I hope you found the show informative. At Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life, we believe that knowledge is power. Take what you've learned, apply it, and live your best life now. Remember that the information provided is the opinion of our guest and should never replace the advice of a professional who knows your personal situation. If you'd like more information, visit our website, cyacyl.com. That stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. While on the site, listen to past shows on demand, read our digital articles, and be sure to subscribe to our mailing list. Until next time, this is Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.